The student attempted a project that would display 6 patterns on a column of 8 LEDs. The first pattern turns on all LEDs, then only 2 LEDs are on, with an increasing number of off LEDs between them, then all off. You're now watching the correct result. But now you see what the student brought to me after the code problems were fixed. So look here for just the circuit problems. Here's the code. See if you can find the mistakes before I do. We'll troubleshoot the code side first. Let's pause for a moment to look at a pseudocode of these lines that turn on the LEDs. The outer loop repeats for each pattern. Within that, an inner loop repeats for each bit in the pattern. The 8 bits in each pattern are read off to set the 8 LEDs in the circuit. So one index is functional for both the bits and the LEDs. Back to real code. As usual when working with arrays, we should get the number of elements into a variable. The problem is that in Arduino C, there's not a function to do that for you. There are some workarounds, but for here we will hard code that. The biggest problem is that the code uses the value in index to walk through the patterns. The code should use the value in a variable called current pattern. Last, the delay should be after all the bits of the pattern have been read. If the delay is inside the inner loop, then there will be a delay after each LED is turned on or off. On the hardware side, the power is disconnected and the rail's okay. The problem is that the jumper from pin 7 is going into the wrong row. Now that row happens to be the same row as the cathode, which is connected via the resistor to ground. When powered, note that whenever pin 7 is high, none of the LEDs are on. I'm not sure, but I think that there's enough current leakage through that misconnection that there's insufficient milliamps to light other LEDs. I'd like to hear comments from those of you with more circuit design experience. Now the jumper is placed properly and all LEDs are functioning. To summarize the solution in hardware, the student had a jumper in the wrong row. In the code, the student must have come from a Python or Java background because she used a function to return length. That function is not available in Arduino C. The delay was after each bit instead of each pattern, and the outer loop was using the wrong counter. Here's a tip regarding nested loops. In many examples, including standard exams, the counter is a variable named I, J, or K. I strongly suggest you avoid this in your projects. Use a variable name that describes what you're counting. I guarantee that will help you avoid some looping mistakes. And here's your master's challenge with 2 mistakes. A few of you are emerging as the quickest to troubleshoot the challenge cases.